51st place out of 293 players. 83, I think. Either way, top 64 this time. Better than last time, same record, different deck. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to Team Forbidden's YouTube page again. It is I, Seto-sama the Fanatic, back at you with the new deck update. This time, 51st place from LA Regionals. My boy, WarGreymon. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. So, first things first, I'm running this deck a little differently than some other people. I'm going mostly pure red for this build. So, start off, we have the 4 copies of Koromon from BT5. This is the single best egg for this deck. You can run the new Koromon from BT14 if you like, but I honestly don't think it's worth it, because if you're swinging with your Agumons, you're doing something wrong. It's also just not as reliable as this card, in my personal humble opinion. You can run a 5th egg if you want. If you want a 5th egg, I don't know, run the 14 Koromon. The 5th egg has never come up for me whatsoever. Into the rookies. We're running 4 copies of the new boy, the Agumon from BT14. This Agumon single-handedly replaces the Promo 9 Agumon that you've probably seen in a couple of the other deck profiles I've won. This card is that good. Why is it good? Well, one, it's got basically the same inheritable, except it also applies to Omnimon, so it's a plus 2k DP boost during your turn. Second, start of main phase. If you have a Tamer with Taikamiya in its name, this Digimon can digivolve to Greymon in your hand without paying the cost. You cannot argue with free Digivolution. Normally, this would be the BT5 Agumon, but free Digivolve, and if you combo it with the BT5 Greymon, it's not just free, it's a +1 memory. So next up, we're running 4 copies of the BT12 Agumon. This is the only card that I didn't have the alt art for during the tournament. I ordered it, but it just didn't come in time. Same card. This is arguably the best Agumon for this particular strategy. On play, top 4, reveal them, add a Greymon or Omnimon and a card with Taikamiya in its name in your hand, bottom deck the rest. And 1000 DP boost all turns. Oh yeah, and it digivolves 0 from Koromon of any color. So, 1 off of black egg, but since your only egg is Koromon, you're digivolving into this guy for free. And our last level 3 that we are running are 4 copies of Agumon X Antibody. This is literally just here for the additional card draw and search. I see one comment that I'm going to make. I see a bunch of people digivolve into an Agumon in the back and then digivolve into an Agumon X on top of it in the back, like at the beginning. In my opinion, this is highly incorrect. If you're missing your Greymon, what do you want? A card draw for free that may get you what you want, or a top 3 search? 9 times out of 10, you're better off just paying the 3 memory to play it, because it gets it from on play or when digivolve. So, that's just my 2 cents right there. It's the Agumon army, the main 3 that pretty much all of you should be running. If you want to try and find room for the BT5 Agumon, maybe you can cut this down, but it's really, really, really hard to, you know, it's really hard to forego or overlook free Digivolution, especially when that Digivolution can gain you a memory. So, here's the other controversial thing that I am doing with this deck. 4 copies of BT5 Greymon. This one gives you a plus 2k boost of any Greymon or Omnimon during your turn, and when you Digivolve, if it's on top of, or if you got Agumon in the sources, you gain a memory. So essentially, it's either a 1-cost evolution, or if you Digivolve on top of this one, it's free and you have a 7k attacker. We're rounding up the main other level 4s with 2 Greymon from BT12. Again, ordered the alts, but didn't get them in time. 3 copies of Greymon X Antibody from BT12. I'd run the 4 copies, but this restricted boy just completely power creeps this card. I'm sure I mentioned that in the first video it came out. The thing that you're probably going to note, if you're asking, where is the starter deck WarGreymon? It's simple. I'm not running it. Yeah, free Digivolution and security attack +1 is good, but I valued the DP boost over swinging, basically making it so my war, if I had to warp or go, can swing over anything I want. So this gives you the 1000 boost and plays a tie for free if you don't have one in play. And these just go over these and give you some extra buffs. You can have a 10k level 4 during your turn. Yes, that is just as nuts as it sounds. Alright, into our level 5s. Now normally, you would see 4 copies of this guy, the BT12 Metal Greymon. There's a reason we're not running 4 copies of him, and I'll get into that when I get into the level 6s. I'm opting in this build, or opted to in this build, run 2 copies of this Metal Greymon from BT7. I tried out the aces. I hate the overflow mechanic. I don't think they are worth it. But this one, if you brick really bad, you can play him for 7. If you got the tie, play that for free. And then you can just go into your level 6 and go from there. So 2-2 here. I'm probably going to change it up a little bit before Nationals comes around. But this Metal Greymon, in my opinion, is highly underrated and works really good with the actual star for this deck. It even works with the raid one too, if you really think about it. 1 copy of Metal Greymon Alteris mode, because having multiple layers of protection is freaking nuts. So you basically have the layer of protection from here and the layer of protection of this, or 2 layers of this. It's absolutely bonkers. And I'd run 4 if I could, but it just tends to brick on me at 4 copies, so 3 copies of Metal Greymon X Antibody. This thing's always treated as Metal Greymon. Oh yeah, other minor combo. You have a Tamer out? Have this. If they have a 5k that you can delete, Digivolve over that because it's Metal Greymon. Oh, look at that. You popped a 5k, you got a memory back. Because that's what the inheritable does. And then you can just go Alteris, X Antibody on top of that, and it does a whole bunch of really good stuff. So this lineup is probably going to change for the build of this deck that I might take to Nationals. I'm between that and another deck that we might profile soon. But without further ado, the reason why I am not running 4 copies of BT12 Metal Greymon, we're running 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of BT14 WarGreymon. I finally have my Warp Digivolving WarGreymon. I can finally shut up about that. Took them 14 sets when it was the first of 2 Digimon to Warp Digivolve in the TV show. I don't get it, but whatever. I finally have him. What does this card do? He does basically everything. So he automatically gets piercing if I've got a Tamer when he attacks. So that's why the BT12 Metal Greymon isn't as useful. He helps when going into the War X or with the Metal Greymon X, but that's about it. Otherwise, he's always going to have piercing and security attack +1 whenever he attacks. So, first thing to note, he always can Digivolve from any red level 5 for 4, or any Greymon level 5 for a cost of 4, no matter what color. However, the alternate condition is, while you have a Tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name, and your opponent has a Digimon with 10,000 DP or more, one of your Agumon may Digivolve into this card from your hand for the Digivolution cost of 4, ignoring the Digivolution requirements. Then, when it Digivolves, it gets raid, and then can just attack a player. So, it doesn't need Blitz. It automatically just, alright, Digivolve, attack. This thing is so good. The fact that you can just Digivolve right on top of your level 3 and go right from a level 3 to a 6, it's nuts. Then you just order your attack stuff right, and you have WarGreymon X, and then you are just gaining security and all the good shenanigans. So, WarGreymon X, 2 copies. I was originally running 3-3, but no, this card is just this card is nuts. And it saddens me to think that I might have to cut it to try and improve it a little bit further. But I love this card. This card is absolutely fantastic. Won me so many games. To WarGreymon X. Digivolves on top of WarGreymon for 1, and then whenever a security card is checked, you gain a memory back. Keeps turn when you shouldn't be able to even keep turn. Onto our 7s. We're doing a 1-1 split of Omni and Omnimon X Antibody. Basically, you have this, you Digivolve this on top. It helps you board control and wins you games. Not much else to say. Into the Tamer cards. We are running 1, 2, 3 copies of Taikamiya from BT14. I originally badmouthed this card a lot when it was first revealed. I said this card was horrible. I said this card was not worth it. Never had I been more happy to have been proven wrong. Part of the reason why I went with this card instead of arguably the superior Black Tamer, you know, the one from BT12, which you can find room for this card in here if you want, but I'll explain later some of the changes I'm thinking about making or alterations that you can make. But this card gets it. My argument against this card was this card gets it on play or start of main. This one only gets its start of main. However, even though it only gets its start of main, if you set this up in the back and you have an Agumon come up, then you just give it plus 2,000 and just go from there. It can get really nuts. If you combine this with the memory setter, which we also run 2 of, you can warp into the WarGreymon. You'll be 16 if you're attacking on top of this. So this comes out, start of main. This thing gives it 2k. You don't have a Greymon? That's fine. You got a 10k Digimon? Let me just warp into WarGreymon. I am now at 16. Swing at any of your bodies that I want. Oh, I checked the security? Cool. Keep a memory. My turn? So yeah, that's basically what this guy does, is this guy helps you keep turn or gain additional memory on swinging. So start of main, he'll give one of your vaccine Digimon an extra plus 2,000 for the turn. So basically your entire line, except for the Greymon virus, is the only one that it won't do. So the Greymon X Antibody, he's a virus attribute. You can't use that on this one. So if you have this out, probably best to just wait unless you're Digivolving in the back for whatever reason. And then 2 Taikamiyas from BT1. This is still one of the best red Tamers in the game. Still generic as heck. And still really, really, really powerful. So that's it. Just the 5 Tamers. Next up, the new boy. Offense training. We're only running 4 because only running 3, excuse me. Because I have it hard to justify running 4 copies. This card is the one main reason I tried this out, because it's red. If I were to hit this tie with this card, it's not a red card. I can't add it to my hand. So in the entire deck, I've only got... So this was my building theory with this deck. In the entire deck, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that this card will bottom deck. That's it. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Now, you could argue, okay, well, why use this card instead of, well, I don't know, the red memory boost in there that you had before? I'm glad that you asked. That's mostly because this card is cheaper. These cards are arguably probably shouldn't have been printed. They're only 2 costs. Look at your top 2, and then your next turn you delay, and then you Digivolve into the appropriate color for 2 memory less. Yeah, it's really, really good. The last red option card that we're running is 1 copy of Crimson Blaze. This was a meta call. because Fenrir, Lugumon, and D-Brigade just hate fighting this card. It never came up once. Every time I had it, it was just useless. So, it literally does nothing against Shine. Unless they hit it in security with Marcus. And even then, sometimes it doesn't even work with that either. Because they're still going to have the Shine Greymon to just pounce you over. So, this didn't work at all for me. I'm definitely changing it. And the last option card that I'm running is, as you saw earlier, the 3 copies of the X Antibody. So, this is probably going to change a little bit later because we have the new Protoform coming out in EX5, but I see so many players only running 2 copies of this card. I literally do not understand what the hell they are all smoking. I can't tell you the number of times having the 3rd copy of this card for me has come up. It has popped up in my security. It has been hit off the top of my deck with Agumon, X, and then I draw another one later. Having extra copies of this card makes it so much easier to see it. But yeah, that is the 51st deck profile for WarGreymon. I'm going to get into a couple of other things that you can run in it. So, as you saw earlier, I did mention the BC12 tie. Arguably, this is the superior tie compared to the red one. But the red one actually came in super clutch on multiple games. I was able to swing against Bloomlord because of this tie and the Agumon and the Warp War. Because of these, I was able to swing over Quartzmon, kill the Quartz, check 2 or 3 cards, and then go into Omni or War X and do other shenanigans and get game. The only time I wasn't able to do that was in the last round, where the Bloomlord player I fought had both the Quartzmon and a Cherrymon out to redirect my attacks, so I couldn't kill the Quartz, so I couldn't unsuspend with Omni. But you sometimes just don't open everything that you need. But these 3 cards were so helpful the entire time. But I am willing to cut 2 copies of this card for the Raid WarGreymon, because the Raid WarGreymon is still really good. And if you have the Raid WarGreymon, you have to have this copy, this version of tie, because this one basically makes your WarGreymon a double blocker. And, well, I'm just going to straight up say it. I need to find room for these in here. This piece of garbage is going out, and this is going back in, because Tamer Hate is just, it's just too good. The other thing that you could potentially run if you want is you can run this Metal Greymon, the one from BT8. That's kind of the only other viable Metal Greymon, but honestly, you've got raid off of this. You've got basically being able to raid off of this any turn you want. So it's never felt necessary for me, although D-Digivolve could come up in certain matchups. But yeah, that's basically Raid or Warp WarGreymon is what I'm calling this one. It's going to have a few adjustments to it. Again, 51st place is not first place, so there's still room for improvement. But overall, the deck performed really well, and it's one of my favorite versions of the deck so far, but I do need to tweak it because there were some problems here and there. So anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell down below for notifications, and let us know what other deck profiles you would like to see in the future. And we'll catch you guys later.